Welcome to the Hour Show once again on NDD TV. I have been queried and confronted with so many questions about a very controversial day in our political history. That is the 4th of June, 1979. I couldn't do this topic without sitting with one of the very people that witnessed everything on that day. It is none other than the legend of high life music. It is Nana Adomako Nyamekye. Nana, welcome to the Hour Show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Andy.
You are always looking...
Come, sir.
Exactly.
You look jet.
You look jet. That I will give it a jeje.
All right, thank you, sir.
No.
For your compliments. Hello, sir.
I have been. A lot of people have sent me so many emails.
Yeah.
A lot of phone calls. About this 4th June.
Yes.
But I knew you were in Ghana at the time.
Yes.
You were involved in the 1981 and 82 coup, sorry. But you were also present during that regime.
Yes.
Can I ask you, what is so important about 4th June 1979?
Well, thank you very much, sir, Mr. Andy. And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to express a little, I know about the whole scenario about this 4th of June and uprisings that have come to destabilize and destroy so many infrastructures of our country.
Okay.
But first and foremost, before I can start, I would like to take the opportunity you've granted me to render my utmost condolences to the people of Ghana who lost their loved ones, who were brutally killed, aimlessly, without any benefit to the country, killed by this event we're going to discuss about. My utmost condolences to all of them, because many people have been deprived of mothers, fathers, grandfathers due to these circumstances. Yeah. So my condolences first and foremost goes to them. Well, let's come to the topic. Yes, the 4th of June that we're talking about. Well, I think to you and to me and to every rational Ghanaian think that it was not necessary. It was not called for. It was actually uncalled for it to intercept in the progress the way Ghana was going at that time. Though there have been, up and down, toppling each other, so just from one to the other, since from the time of Kwame Nkrumah till the General Kufu, who was the last one that was toppled by these 4th of June activities. It was not necessary.
Okay.
It wasn't called for the people of Ghana. But, well, some greedy people who found it in their own interest thought it was necessary to bring this thing to exist. But the calamities and the problems it had brought to us as people of Ghana is very, very obvious to all of us. It's not for me to say, but the Ghanaians are there to witness. Those who witnessed can testify. Those who didn't witness, I also have heard.
Okay.
So I think that day, 4th of June, actually is not necessary. It shouldn't have come into the life of Ghanaians, but it has come to pass, and it is a history now that we are talking about. So,
what is the relation between 15th May and 4th of June? Because it's quite confusing. People talk about 15th May, they always link it to 4th of June. I know there is probably a gap there, but what actually happened between 15th of May to 4th of June, and why the uprising on that particular day of 4th of June?
Well, I think I was a very young soldier at that time. I had just joined my band, the Blackberries, at the Regiment. So I witnessed everything, but I did not partake either of the activities. I wasn't part of it, but I witnessed it. 15th June uprising or coup d'etat was planned by Jerry John Rawlings. He failed.
15th May.
15th May.
Okay.
Uprising.
All right.
That's what was the first interception, because Ghana was preparing to go for election after all these generals toppling each other.
Okay.
About 12 days for this election to actually take place. Rawlings, from nowhere, thought he was the best person for the whole country. He had to destroy it. So he attempted to topple the government of General Kufu, but it was, aborted by the Reki Regiment soldiers, led by our former commanding officer called Major Suleimana.
Okay.
He apprehended Rawlings for attempting to overthrow the legitimate, government at the time.
Okay.
And Rawlings was handed over to the government, and then his proceedings of prosecutions started. So it was an abortive coup. Rawlings tried to topple the government of Ghana at the time on that 15th June, but 15th of May. Yeah. But it failed, and he was apprehended by Major Suleimana and handed over to the government to be prosecuted.
Okay.
He was in jail. BNI. He has been going through his trials, which was being broadcasted to the whole nation. We were all listening from our radios in the barracks and wherever one might have been in Ghana at that time. Okay. So the process of prosecuting Rawlings was going on. And then, that's what I say. Rawlings is just a lucky guy, because he was sitting in his cells there at BNI, waiting to be taken out and be shot or whatever punishment that was due to be passed on him. Yeah. And somebody, an angel of his life, whom he did not recognize to be anything after he had his liberation, hatched the idea of 4th June after his coup attempt has failed and he was being tried. Somebody came out with the idea that no, they wouldn't let him be prosecuted and probably be killed or shot in the firing squad, and conceived the idea of the 4th June. And as we go on, if you give me the time, I think I will tell you what I know, and that is exactly what happened. Okay. Yeah, so 15th June was the beginning of the destabilization of the country by Rawlings. Okay. He failed, he was arrested, and he was in jail. And then young soldiers gathered up the courage and brought in some officers to join them to liberate him. And then 4th June came to exist.
You mentioned an angel. Who was that very person who liberated him?
All right. From what I know and what I saw, because we were all at the Gonda barracks at that time, during the process of Rawlings' prosecution, there was, because the country has been, in a alert situation because of the attempt Rawlings made. So soldiers were made to stand by in all the units throughout the Ghana Armed Forces. Reki was on standby. 5th Battalion of Infantry and Air Force were on standby. Actually, the coup started, is the Air Force guys who did. Rawlings is from the Air Force. So there's somebody called Ajiman Biu, a junior officer. He was the one who came with the idea that he think Rawlings must be liberated, because he was speaking on behalf of junior ranks and then junior officers in the armed forces. So the speech Rawlings gave at the tribunal that all those people who accompanied him to do this 15th June failed coup attempt should be left to go, but Rawlings is the sole person to be taken responsible. And if there is any punishment, it's be meted out to him. But the rest should be left to go. This convinced this young officer, Ajiman Biu. So he approached one Sergeant Tasiru and Atiamo and Mark Patinga and some others. These guys were all on standby with this Ajiman Biu at the 5th Battalion C Company at the Arakan Barracks. So this young officer called Ajiman Biu started warning shots. He started firing gunshots from the Sequoia in the 5th Battalion of Infantry. Reki Gondar Barracks and Arakan are facing each other.
Okay.
So when the Iraqi soldiers heard these gunshots going on at the Arakan, there was a sergeant called Sergeant Adoso, who was a gunner and a driver instructor at the Iraqi regiment. He was among the guys who trained me.
Okay.
He also replied with Amoka firing. To kind of, because this situation in Ghana has been brought to control by the Iraqi soldiers.
Okay.
So if warning shots are coming from the battalion, that means it's up to something.
Right.
So there was a retaliatory or a response firing from the Iraqi regiment on the Amoka. So some soldiers, Captain Raider, if I remember very well, and one RSM called Obin from Iraqi regiment, were detailed to go to see what is going on at the Arakan Barracks, the 5 battalion.
Okay.
But first and foremost, when this officer, I think when he heard the retaliatory firing from Reki, he thought probably, because he hadn't gathered many people to do whatever he was thinking for that 4th June.
Okay.
So he thought it was a failure.
Okay.
So he shot himself.
Oh, wow.
He shot himself, and Tasiru and Atiemo and Makapatinga and the rest gathered the courage to say no. This hasn't failed. So when these Reki guys went to them to ask them what was going on, they told them what they wanted to do. But this officer unfortunately has killed himself. So you see, senior officers' lives were at stake at this time.
Okay.
So this Reki officer came back to the Gondar Barracks. But the junior officers, like the RSM Mobin and others, went back to these battalion people to join them to say that, okay, this thing of the 4th June idea that this guy who has killed himself, Ajimabiu has killed himself, must go on. So Sergeant Tasiri was bold, said, okay, Captain Boachijan was the Sea Commander, officer in charge of the Sea Corps of the 5th Battalion of Infantry.
Okay.
So they have to look for wherever Sergeant Captain Boachijan was, and then take him together with them to go and liberate these Rawlings from the BNI cells. So they managed to locate Captain Boachijan. And then with few, soldiers, they managed to get an Amoka because these Reki guys have gone to join them. They supported, they liked the idea that this 4th June must happen.
Okay.
But first and foremost, before it happens, they must go, the task was to go and liberate Rawlings from his cells at the BNI.
All right.
So they went from the Arakan Barracks with the Amoka and the pins who are loaded of soldiers. That is a kind of a mutiny. They went straight to the BNI to liberate Rawlings, because Rawlings was not expecting anybody, because he was in the hands of the government. He was being tried. He wasn't expecting that some people were going to, or any angel was coming from anywhere to liberate him. But luckily for him, he was just dreaming, and it came Boachijan, led by these young soldiers, Tasiri, Patinga, and Atiemo and the rest, have gone to break him from the jail. Took him to the broadcasting. How they decide, Captain Boachijan and the rest decided to allow Rawlings, who is in jail, they have gone to liberate it, to make the announcement, can be well described by Boachijan. Sergeant Tasiri, I know he is alive. He's not dead. I wasn't there with them. But after they have done everything, as soldiers, they came to tell us, this is what happened. They have taken this guy out of his prison, and they have sent him to the broadcasting. Well, after they liberated him, they wrote the names of whoever they want to be members of the AFREC. The speech, I believe, was written by Captain Boachijan for Rawlings to announce to Ghanaians. Because every Ghanaian knew that Rawlings was in jail. He has tried to topple the government of the country. He's been apprehended, and he's been in prison, awaiting his fate. So Ghanaians, we were all shocked to hear his voice, talking on the radio of Ghana, that they have taken over the country, that if RC has started to come to, impose on Ghanaians from that time.
Now, the Tasiru is a captain, isn't it?
No, he's a sergeant.
Sergeant Tasiru.
It's other rank, Sarkodie.
Yeah, and Sarkodie. None of them, all those names, including, I think the only person whose name is quite frequent in all this story is Boachija.
Yes. But Boachija did not hatch the idea.
The idea.
He didn't conceive the idea. Ajimambio started it with Tasiri, Makapatenga, Atiamo, and some others. And Sarkodie Ado, whom Rawlings brutally murdered at the Air Force station after. We shall come to that.
Okay. All right.
For you to know what a kind of a heartless person this guy is.
Okay.
Somebody who liberated you and gave you life to become a head of state of Ghana.
So Sarkodie Ado was part of the team that liberated him?
Yes.
Okay.
Sarkodie Ado, Tasiri, Atiamo, Makapatenga, plus Arasamobin from Reki and some other soldiers, plus Boajijan, were the people who want to break Rawlings' jail and brought him out and send him to the broadcasting to make the announcement. Sarkodie Ado was part of it.
Wow.
Yes, but Rawlings killed him cold-bloodedly.
Okay, we will get to that.
All right.
After Rawlings made the announcement at the broadcasting,
yes,
what happened afterwards?
Well, you see, Ghana was really in a, like the whole country was in, I don't know, there was a tension in the whole country because from 15th June, this trial was going on. When the political activities were going on, 12 days to election, Rawlings tried to topple the government. This guy has been arrested. Trial was going on unexpectedly. His voice has been heard on the radio Ghana that he and other soldiers have taken over the control. So people have to wait for a while, and then when these people, when they came back to the barracks, like soldiers, everybody have to follow. I mean, the chorus, we didn't understand the meaning.
Why was he trialed the way he was? Why did Ghana take that measure? I mean, it was part of the constitution. I'm sure, you know, when you topple the government in an attempted coup to overthrow,
yes,
you know, you are deemed to be punished by death.
Yes.
Why did they put in so much effort to put him on a trial? Why didn't they execute him?
Well, he was in the process. When he did this failed, coup attempt on the 15th May, he was in the process. He was being tried at the Burma Hall, and it was being broadcasted live for Ghanaians to hear.
Okay.
The process was going on. It has not completed. Then this Ajmambio had the idea that this guy is speaking on behalf of the other ranks.
Okay.
So if this guy really had the chance to take power on the 15th of June, it would have favored the other ranks and the junior officers in the army.
Okay.
So he conceived this idea that no, he must gather some hands so that this guy must be liberated. But the process of him being tried was going on. It hasn't been completed.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, his voice appeared on the radio where we didn't know where it came from. What
was the main reason why he attempted that 15th May coup?
Well, I think he would be the best person to answer that question.
Okay.
But as a Ghanaian, all of us, myself as a young soldier at that time, I don't think it was necessary.
Were you guys being repressive?
No, repressive how? If from what? Because I was in the police band when I was forcefully whisked from Kumasi to join the army. But the life I saw in the barracks, soldiers were giving. I mean, Achampo was the person who bought musical instruments for all Ghana armed forces. He formed band so that soldiers could be entertained in the barracks without going to the public to harass people. So life, I think every rational being, every rational Ghanaian would think that life was okay. And moreover, this guy was prepared. And they were preparing, political activities was going on, campaign to hand over, return from military rule to civilian rule was going on.
Okay.
And Rawlings, with his atrocious ideas, what had prompted him to think such an evil idea to destroy this country is only him and his living God who know what came into his mind to start this 15th May, the coup attempt.
No. Have you ever heard of something called the Free African Movement, which was being led by Boachija?
Maintaining a presence at the forefront of a global issue with the desire to help others come to a resolve in personal and business affairs is why Andy D Legal and Immigration Associate was established.
We specialize in overseas British passport applications, bails and temporary admission, deportation and detention cases.
The profound pattern in achieving positive results with fragile cases in immigration, nationality, European Union and human rights law, adoption, marriage, divorce, litigation, and so on, up to date, has been broken, and that is why our client base continues to expand.
We also do representations at the UK border agencies and overseas consulate, human rights law, and settlement and leave to remain applications.
We have the right keys to unlock any case across the spectrum of law, locally in London and across the borders in Ghana, where our other branches are established.
We are located at 44 Broadway, Stratford, E15 1XH. Our telephone number is 0203 1300 751.
Yes.
They had planned to probably initiate a coup in 1984. So it was something that was part of the ideology, right?
No, but Afrifa have died in 79. How could he come back to make that a coup in 1980s?
No, I mean Bwachijan.
Well, that is up to Bwachijan to answer because I have no idea. I was in exile at that time.
Yeah, but my point is, after they got to the broadcasting station,
yes.
Why didn't Bwachijan make the announcement? He's a senior among them all.
He was a senior officer. That is the question I'm saying, that Bwachijan being a graduate from the University of Ghana,
right,
and Rawlings being a Form 5 secondary school leaver who joined the army. For whatever that came to Bwachijan's mind as a captain, a graduate, to let this Form 5 leaver to be the chairman of the council. I think Bwachijan, I don't know what came into his mind, and I wasn't there when they decided at the broadcasting or at the Air Force station that Rawlings must be the chairman of the council. I don't know what came to his mind. I think he would be the best person to answer that question. Whether it was a force, a pressure put into him by Tasiri and these young other ranks who started the whole thing and brought him in, or it was his own idea, that I cannot substantiate that. I cannot say why a graduate, senior officer, you've attended Legon. Rawlings have not attended any university in Ghana. He was a secondary school leaver just like us. He had joined that time. If you pass through secondary school, it's easy to join the army. He joined from secondary school, Achimota.
Okay.
That's where he went, and he joined the army from there. Captain Bwachijan is a graduate, law graduate from University of Ghana. And if these young boys have come to take in this guy, to liberate this guy from the prison, why didn't he, as a senior officer, or maybe I don't know, Rawlings was an officer himself, but he was an insubordinate officer from what we know. So he couldn't rise through his rank and files like the others. So he was an angry person before he started all these kind of things. We know that. He was always in the guard room because of insubordination and fighting with his senior officers. He was rogue and disrespectful to his senior officers. We know. Because he was following us with my band. We'll come to that. So let's talk about these things. So Bwachijan's idea of bringing Rawlings to make this AFRC announcement, probably one day if you have the opportunity to meet him, then you put this question to him. Because nobody, we all of us were all surprised to see. But this guy, Bwachijan, is an adjutant at that time at the 5th Battalion, a senior officer. So maybe the pressure this Tasiri and Sarkodie and people put on him, it's like he was drawn into it to go with them to liberate Rawlings. He did not initiate that idea, but he was drawn into it by these young soldiers, Tasiri and Sarkodie and Patinga and these Itiemu guys. Many others joined. So probably it might have been the pressure they might have put in or dictated to him to let Rawlings because he's been already like a sort of a charismatic type of a person. His name has already come into the limelight. So just like Alora Kataporo said, if Rawlings didn't make the announcement, the coup d'etat will not be popular because his name is already in the public domain. This is a maybe because I was not there among them why Rawlings was made to make the announcement instead of Wajijan. And I know very, very well, and I've heard it from Captain Wajijan himself, he drafted the speech that Rawlings made on that 4th June 1979. Because Wajijan is a well-learned guy, more than Rawlings. So brain-wise and book-wise, Rawlings is not equal to Wajijan at all. We know it.
After the announcement,
yes,
General Captain Odate Wellington came into the picture. What was his role?
Well, Odate Wellington was a resistance force because he was the army commander at that time. And he would not actually allow these guys to take over the country easily like that. So he organized his defense force to fight back against this overthrow of the government at the time. So, well, majority of soldiers have already gone in support of the AFRC. So they have to chase Captain Odate Wellington and find him wherever he was hiding in Accra to kill him. So they chased him until he reached at the Nima police station. He went in to the Nima police station to hide or to be protected there. But the police commander at the Nima police station was afraid of the pressure and the soldiers that were coming. So he betrayed Captain Odate Wellington. He showed the soldiers where he was. And whatever followed, I think you are a Ghanaian, you heard it. He was mercilessly killed I can't describe how brutal they killed Odate Wellington at the Nima police station there. He was an army commander, as a senior army commander of a country. If you come to topple his government, he have to defend the country. But he was on part of Ghana. Rawlings and his people were trying to destabilize the country. So he, as an army commander, has to really, try to put the country back on rails. But unfortunately, they killed him the way they were not supposed to have. After he was wounded by law of the military, this guy should have been taken to hospital and probably treat him and then put him to trial because Ghana have laws. But they took the law into Rawlings. Rawlings is the commander-in-chief at that time, so no life was important in Ghana. They destroyed Odate Wellington and wasted him just like that at the Nima police station. But it wasn't fair.
It was one of the bloodiest days.
Yes, of Ghana. Yes. It is.
On that very day.
Yes.
And I still don't understand. Why do they even celebrate it? Why do they even, whatever you guys will put it, what other people will call it, whether it is, I don't know what it is. Why do they even have to talk about the 4th of June in Ghana?
Yes. Mr. Andy, when a lawless person, somebody who have no respect for the country even that he has taken over as Ghana. Rawlings is a rogue, he's a talk. He is somebody who has no respect of anybody because people have made him hero. They think he has got the power. From that time, any life in Ghana was in his hand. He and his Chikata will kill and destroy whoever they think was not needed or was not in the support of their governance. 4th June is not a day to be celebrated. When President Kufuor took over from him, Rawlings, he banned it from being celebrated officially. And all the subsequent presidents, President Atamels, President Mahama, and the rest, all of them who came, they did not celebrate it. Well, when Mills took over from President Kufuor, Well, it is his boss is Rawlings, so he has to be liberal and let it 4th June celebration continue, but not as a ceremonial date in the country, but they celebrated it all right because Rawlings was in control. So 4th June has nowhere to go until Rawlings is dead or is off the scene. So 4th June is unofficially celebrated by Rawlings. It's not officially. It is not a date to be remembered at all because of the atrocity and the blood pool of Ghanaians, innocent Ghanaians that were killed on this date. Why are you celebrating the killings of people? But Rawlings think Ghana is for him. He's untouchable. He does what he wants. He doesn't respect the constitution of the country, the law of the country here. He has no respect. The French say he's a vagabond. Saying vagabond, he's a vagabond. He has no respect for the country. If he really respects the country, and a president has come to say it's banned, he wouldn't continue to go on backyard on the ground and continue to celebrate. But see, Ghanaians are people who want to let bygones be bygones and carry on with our lives. So I believe that it's not that our able president today cannot stop him from what he's doing, but a lot of damage, I believe, has been done to this country, and this our president knows he has a work to do to repair this damage. I think that's why he's allowed him to go on celebrating this 4th June. Else, it's complete, it must be stopped.
But what exactly are they celebrating? Is it because the youth don't know about it?
Yeah, the youth who were born under Rawlings regime knew nobody apart from Rawlings.
Good.
You know, so when they say Choboy, everybody say yay, and they follow the course. They don't know what atrocities Rawlings have committed against people in Ghana. They've just heard of it, but they didn't, experience it, or it didn't happen at their time. So they don't really know what happened. He must be stopped. Rawlings is lawless. He's a heartless type of a person. He has no feeling for nobody. He and his Chikata, only them are the only people who are important on the soil of Ghana. No other life in Ghana is important apart from these two people, Chikata, Rawlings. They can kill as they please and go free and waste anybody's life whom they think they feel like wasting it. The Rawlings should not be allowed to go on doing this. But because he's a rogue, he's a talk, saying vagabond, he doesn't care. He's not supposed to be celebrated.
Why did he kill the head of state and other generals?
That, you and I, we all, Afrifa, look, there's a constitutional, law. When I think Kotuka, Ankara, and Afrifa, them, they toppled this in Nkrumah when they were about to leave the scene. This immunity law was created to protect them. After they have gone out of the scene, they are immune from being prosecuted. Yes.
Yeah? Right.
Till Rawlings left power, this one was there. This law covered Afrifa. He was a retired man, a civilian who has participated in political activities and won a parliamentary seat. But Rawlings, that's why I say he disregards the law and the constitution of our country. He does what pleases him, he and his Chikata. They want to grab this guy from his village and executed him among the generals. Yes, these generals have overthrown Kwame Nkrumah's government, which was a legitimate government, elected into power by the people of Ghana. They have committed a treason. But they have made this law, just as Rawlings and his Chikatas, and whoever from AFRC to PNDC, until he turned from the wolf's skin into the sheepskin to be a civilian president, have this immune, law covering them for whoever comes into the scene after them not to be touched or prosecuted. But Rawlings overlooked all this, and he killed these people, the generals, because they said, Captain Bwajija said, and all his AFRC said they have committed an act of treason for overthrowing a legitimate government of Kwame Nkrumah. Well, they went till it came to the turn of General Akufu. This law of the indemnity clause, that's the word I was looking for. Indemnity clause law was there to cover them. The indemnity law was there to cover all soldiers who have taken part in the whatever, unlawful, government of the country, who have toppled the legitimate government, after they have stepped out of the government, this indemnity clause protects them from being prosecuted.
Right.
And Afrifa was one of them.
Okay.
They arrested Afrifa and executed him. General Ankara was sitting there at Accra. They didn't arrest him. If he really meant justice, that whoever has taken part in the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah must die, they shouldn't have spared the life of General Ankara, because he was sound and well alive in Accra. But they left him in Accra and went to Krobo at Asante Mampong to arrest Afrifa to come and kill him in Accra, while General Ankara was in Accra there.
What was the relationship between Rawlings and Ankara?
Only God knows, because it was Rawlings and his AFRC's collective decision that they pointed out who is to be killed, who is to be spared. So for whatever they saw in Ankara and spared his life and killed the rest of them, all the 8 generals they shot. But there was a law in the country, Ghana, that the court law and the justice of Ghana must have tried these people and prosecute them and give them the desired punishment. But they created their kangaroo court, a tribunal, summary trial, and just killed this guy quick. So to be honest, they shouldn't have done that, but they've done it. So it's come to be a history of our country today.
Do you think Nana should step up his game and probably restrict this sort of
the 4th of June celebration?
Yes.
Of course, because previous President Kufuor was the first one who started to say that this activity is barbaric, it's inhuman. For these guys who have innocently killed soldiers, both civilians and civilians, for no reason. And okay, if they have toppled Nkrumah and they deserve to be killed, they've killed them. Why celebrating the killings? It's a birthday to Rawlings because he wasn't dreaming in his cells that he was going to be free. So he's celebrating it as a birthday, but not as anything. That's how I see it, because he didn't plan, he didn't know he was going to be freed on that 4th of June. But he was there unexpectedly. These guys have come, you're free, you're no more going to die. So he took all the rest to be fools. I think this is how I see it. I think they are fools to have gone to liberate him from prison, to make him head of state instead of themselves. So Rawlings think they are fools. That's how he sees them. To my imagination, that's how I see it. Because why should you go and liberate him and let him be the head? Let him go, and then Bachichan, if these guys, Tashiri and Sarkodie and people have come to get you to go and liberate him, okay, you've done your work by liberating him. Why giving the power to him? And he saw the weakness and the way people see him as God. So he thinks he'll be worshipped. So, he excelled from there. And whatever he's done in the country, I think you are not too young. You've heard, if you haven't seen, you've heard a lot. This guy is heartless. He just believes in, he's a lawlessness person. If he respects the law and the constitution of our country, he will abide by the law of the country and not to celebrate that 4th of June. What for? What for? Killing people mercilessly and celebrating it. What for? You deprive people of parents, fathers and mothers. They did not live to see their children grow. You are living now upon all the atrocities and killings you've done in Ghana. Your children are growing and you're seeing them to become what they have to become in their lives. What about those you've killed? Innocently and unlawfully.
Yeah.
It's unworthy of doing. He's supposed not to. I think our president, he's able, he knows what he's doing. Okay. He's a law, a president, he's a lawyer, well-learned lawyer. He knows what he is doing. I see the burden on him to repair the damage that has been caused by this AFRC till the PNDC.
And to the NDC.
And to the NDC. NDC, after Rawlings, human beings came to take over. President Mills was a human, well-learned, brainy man. He took the government. After him came Mahama. They did what they have to do as civilians. Constitutionally, they were elected and they were governing as the law of our country deserves, expect of them. But Rawlings, his 2 terms that he made in Ghana, well, Ghanaians voted for him because they voted in fear. Because this guy has caused such a killing and instilled a kind of a fear into Ghanaians, that the fear was still there that if you don't vote this guy to power, he may come to do the same nonsense he's been doing. So with that fear, that is what I know. With that fear, people know, and the youth that voted have been born under him. So they didn't know anybody apart from Rawlings. So whether they liked it or not, they know Rawlings. So they have to vote for Rawlings. They didn't know Kufuor. They didn't know anybody. Until eventually indoctrinations came to their mind. They got to know, oh, this guy is such a callous and cold calculated blood killer. We have to take him out of power. Then they took him out of power and gave it to President Kufuor. And look at how Ghana started to grow. The following subsequent governments, presidents, Mills, Mahama, were properly elected into government. They ruled, their term came to an end, and they went away, and another has now come to take over. This Rawlings man must be called to order. They have to stop him because he's a lawless and heartless person. Now he said that this indemnity clause must be removed away because he's old enough to die, or he thinks he has nothing to lose. When there was a reconciliatory how do you call it?
Reconciliation.
The Reconciliation Council was formed in Ghana, and they called him to appear. They called him at more than 6 or 5 times. He refused to appear until he was subpoenaed. What is the right word? Subpoenaed to appear before. That court before he went, because he disrespected the law. He doesn't respect the law of Ghana. And why should he be allowed to overlook, to abuse the intelligence of well-learned people in Ghana? Why should Rawlings be allowed to go on doing this? He must be stopped. He must be called to order. It is not my, I'm just saying as a citizen of the country, but I think this is the right thing to be done, because Rawlings, anytime he goes to celebrate this 4th June, he opens us up the wounds of people he has killed. The pain he has instilled into their hearts, he opens up this wound for them to remember. If he must go on celebrating this, that is what it means to these people, poor people, defenseless people, who had nobody to come into their aid. He's killed their mothers and fathers for, the way he likes. And he continued to celebrate this useless and uncalled for killings. He must be called to order. He must be stopped. It's like we Ghanaians, well, most of us are afraid to say, call a spade a spade. We coil around and we don't want to say the right thing. I'm sorry, Rawlings has once been elected to be president of our country. But I think if people really knew what type of person he was, they wouldn't have voted him. Upon all the atrocities he has committed, they wouldn't have voted for him to go to that 2 terms he did in Ghana. Rawlings must be stopped. He must be called to order.
What was wrong with Ghanaians at the time? Because you can imagine, I've learned to know that a Champions regime was one of the best.
It was one of the best. Operation Feed Yourself.
Yes.
Man, there was no hunger.
Yeah. So what went wrong? With the Ghanaians, because according to a lot of interviews he's granted, he said people called for.
Nobody called for nothing. That is his way of putting it, but nobody called for. The country was being prepared for civilian government. It was about 12 days for people to go and vote. If they liked the champion to continue to do what he wanted, they would have taken him with his union government into power. If they didn't, they would have voted him out and bring somebody in to rule Ghana. What happened to Rawlings to think that, no, Ghanaians have no right, he has right. He must stop Ghanaians to go to enfranchise their vote to choose somebody they want. But he only is the only wise person, the one-eyed man in the whole of Ghana who can see. The rest of Ghanaians are blind. There was nothing wrong with Ghanaians. there was not something wrong with Rawlings. He was angry, jealous. Yes, he was angry with himself and he was jealous of life people were leading in Ghana. He was jealous. He wanted to be like others, but there was no way. If you don't work hard, how do you gain? You chose to be a soldier. Do your soldier. And if you retire and you want to go into business, go and do business and get money. He was one of the poorest. And now, if he's not the richest of our country, he could be second or third ranked millionaire in our country now. What did he come into this political scene with? Nothing. Nothing.
So if he should be going down the same route as he did to others.
Of course. I say, Rawlings must be